When it comes to initiatives and ideas on how to encourage more girls into technology, there's been a noticeable change in the past year or so. This is just a little bit of research that I was doing leading up to this event. I don't know if you guys have come across the new Little Miss in the Mr. Men range. It was launched in November. This is Little Miss Inventive. So she's basically a female engineer described as intelligent, ingenious and inventive to try and encourage more girls into STEM subjects and STEM careers. We've also got the Girl Guides badge from April this year. They partnered with Google to create a new digital badge where essentially Girl Guides would program an imaginary robot, and they were trying to encourage more girls to get into coding and show them it's something exciting, it is something that girls can do. And in July, I was surprised to hear that apparently Barbie is now a robotics engineer. This was to shine a light on an underrepresented career field for women, of course, and they've partnered with the kids coding platform called Tinker, and they will be launching 6 kind of Barbie-inspired coding experiences, again to encourage more girls into this industry. And then finally, not too long ago, last month, the Brownies launched a new space badge along with the UK Space Agency. So there's a lot of initiatives and ideas to try and encourage more girls into STEM, because obviously we don't just want to learn today how to tap into that 17%, but learn how we can grow it. That's the most important thing, otherwise it's just not going to change. But there are many, many role models in the industry that are women. We've got Ada Lovelace and Grace Jones. She was a pioneer in programming. We've got Jade Raymond. I'm specifically picking her out because she led the creation of Assassin's Creed. I'm into gaming. We've also got a young lady down here who actually passed A-level computing at only 11 years old. So women can definitely do it. Also, the head of tech at Sky is a woman, the group tech officer at Accenture is a woman. So there are role models in the industry, there's just not the awareness to kind of back that up. I don't know if any of you have come across the PwC Tech She Can initiative. They've released so much research, and half the research I've got in my presentation today is from the variety of papers that they've released. And one of them showed that 78% of the students they interviewed couldn't name a famous woman in tech. So it's not necessarily because there aren't role models out there. Again, it's all about awareness, and I will be repeating myself quite a lot throughout my presentation because there are 3 main factors that I've taken away from the research that I've been doing. The ISACA did also survey, and 42% of the women that they surveyed said that the lack of role models was the main barrier into getting into technology for them, because there was no one to look up to. They kind of didn't consider it as a career path for women because they can't see any noticeable women in the industry. So if you've got women in your tech team who are passionate, some of you may know of some today, some of you may have some in your head, who would be willing to produce content, perhaps talk at some meetups that you've got, maybe partner with local schools or local universities to try and encourage women, then use that to your advantage. Because you will find a lot of women working in technology at the moment are just as passionate as we all are to get more women into tech. If you haven't got that, there are a couple of social campaigns you can do. There's Ada Lovelace Day, which is in October, or International Women's Day, you could make the most of that, which is in March. 67% of women that PwC did survey before, they basically said that they look for role models within the company. So when I say role models, by the way, you could look at your own company, hence why we've got the case study section, to show that, you know, there's not, although there might be a stereotype that a career in technology is for men, there's actually a lot of women that are incredibly successful working in technology, and they're not just developers. There's a lot of jobs in IT, and I think that's another key point that we kind of need to raise. So it's actually quite split. I was surprised when I did the analysis. It was almost 50-50 saying that they find this a stereotype. But a lot of the women that said yes, they said, I think there is a stereotype that technology is just for IT, just for men, sorry. But when you start working in the industry, you actually realise that that's not the case. It's just a perception. There was other research by the IFS, which was actually only released a couple of months ago. This is school-level girls. So they interviewed approximately 300 schoolgirls from about 40 different schools, and almost 70% of them agreed that STEM jobs are male-dominated. So it's quite a jump from the study that we've got here. But I think that, again, it's the lack of knowledge surrounding the huge variety of jobs in IT. It's not just made up of developers, and you don't necessarily have to be technical in order to work in IT and technology. As we all know, clearly they don't. So again, it's building awareness about the variety of jobs which you can do at universities, you can do at schools. Obviously, flexible working is something that everybody will talk about when they're talking about encouraging more women. But the game isn't over if you cannot yet get buy-in to adapt your benefits and to introduce flexible working, because you know, we aren't all popping out babies, we've not all got families. You know, every woman might want something different. They'll be at different stages of their career journey. You may well be recruiting for junior level, senior level, and these two candidates will want completely different things from a job. But what you need to ask for yourself is also, what are women looking at? What are they looking at during the recruitment process, the attraction process, during the interview process? Because personalised diversity and inclusion goals. So this is something I touched on in my previous presentation. Some companies don't mention anything to do with diversity and inclusion, and they say that it's very, very important to them. They want it, they're doing this, they're doing that, but they're not talking about it. And if candidates don't know that you're doing it, then they're not going to kind of see you as a diverse employer of choice. And there's a lot of companies as well that will just kind of use the definition of diversity and put it on their website, but that's not showing what diversity and inclusion means to you. You need to personalise it, you need to tell your story. Tell them what you're telling people around the table today as to what your goals are, because that matters to them. And again, PwC, if I get a pound for every time I say their name, I'll be very rich, but their research did show that candidates do look at whether a company shares their kind of diversity strategy and progression and everything like that. It is important to them, both from junior level to senior level candidates that they surveyed. Another thing is returnships, which is something that I've noticed a lot more this year. I notice a lot of interns and apprentices being opened up to obviously open the doors to people that haven't necessarily taken a degree in a STEM subject. But what about senior level recruitment? That's not going to help in that area. If you've got the resources and the time to bring in interns and apprentices, then why do you not have necessarily the resources and time to bring people back into work? Because there is a massive drop-off when women start a family and try get back into technology. If they've not got experience in the latest technologies and this and that, then they find it very hard to rejoin the career that they were doing before they left work. So returnships, we did a campaign with Siemens. Women returners research report says that 3 in 5 professional women will go to lower skilled jobs, and that's very much the same in IT. And your careers page, which I think a lot of companies are picking up on now, but there's a lot that have spoken to me and said, look, we've run our job specs for a gender decoder, we've put them out there, nothing's changed. And then you go on their careers page and it's like, where's Wally of the women in tech? Because their female imagery will be used on the HR section, but in the IT section, there are no women in the imagery whatsoever. Even things as specific as that are very important, because candidates will research your Glassdoor, your LinkedIn, and your careers page when they're looking to work for you. And then the job expectations as well. You may have heard already a lot of research into if a man feels like he fits just a couple of the skills on the job spec, he will apply. If a woman feels like she doesn't match or doesn't feel confident just in one, she won't. And there are a lot of job adverts, and this isn't saying lower your expectations by any means. This is just saying that sometimes you can't just focus on ready-made talent. You need to focus on the ability to learn, or perhaps just to be a little bit more open in your job adverts and in your kind of journey, because these people can do the job just as well, but they just might not meet that perfect tick box traditional pathway into an IT tech career. It's not just about, and I'm going to repeat this again and again, how to reach that 17%. That's not what we should be focusing on, because we need to do more to help grow it. And I know that it involves buy-in. I'm not saying this is an easy job, but if everybody just tries to tap into that 17%, then the marketplace is not going to improve and we're not really going to get anywhere. You also need to think about what you're looking for as a company. It's not just about what they're looking for. What are you looking for? And then maybe you can try and narrow it down to work out what kind of audience, because the question, what are women looking for, isn't going to help you, because you could be looking at just senior level recruitment, you could be looking at entry level recruitment. It's a completely different ballgame. And again, the market in this situation will not improve unless we all work together. So these are a few more ideas. Obviously, spread the word about role models within your industry or women that work for you. Find out why the women that work for you love working for you, by the way, because that's a good starting point. That's going to be what you can work from. That's insight that you can gain. Open up opportunities for interns, apprentices, returnships. Partner with local schools or universities. Also organise your own Women in Tech meetups. I've seen a rise in them, but still companies are kind of very much like, don't really know how to go about it, which was the case for Zone Digital, who we worked with recently. Women in Tech is not just about advertising your jobs, it's about branding, it's about sharing your story, because at the end of the day, the amount of recruiters I speak to who say, oh, I don't even know where to start. So I ask them a few questions. They're actually doing a lot more than they think they are. They haven't told anyone. They're not telling the story to anyone, and they don't know where to tell that story. That's why our platform started about. So Zone are advertising jobs with us, but they also wanted to try a Women in Tech meetup, and they had no idea where to start. So even though it's not necessarily a part of inventory that we sell, Women in Tech meetups, I said, whack our logo on. We'll help you. We'll send a mailer out. We'll promote you on our events page. Here are some ideas from recruiters that I've spoken to before. Perhaps you could do this, perhaps you could do that. I gave them 5 different styles of events. They opted for the pizza and Prosecco, which I was personally very happy about. And it was extremely successful. To the one that they had in London, they had over 200 people come. The Bristol one's been very, very recent. I'm due to catch up with them soon. But it's just like, we can help you and think outside the box with you. Don't just view it as a sort of a job advertising portal. And a few other factors. I mean, this isn't an overnight job. I think we all know that. Having a diverse interview panel, unconscious bias training, these are all things that you've probably heard about before. Obviously, you can review your job specs, which some of you may already know about. There's like Textio and other companies like that, where they'll make sure that you're using neutral words. Analysing your recruitment data as well, because if you're going to start running these campaigns and doing everything differently and you're not analysing it, then you won't know that it's working, which is easier said than done, because I know that nobody is really in love with their ATS system, so that's absolutely fine. Also retaining female talent, because once you've got them in and they're dropping off, then it's just a vicious cycle again and again. Buy-in from hiring managers might well be your most difficult one there.